DJ Leroy.
Night Watchman, how you doing, buddy?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, good. You had a good week. Do tell.
They go by quickly. It go by so quickly.
They really do. Is it because we're getting so much older? Is that
Uh,
it, man?
uh, la la la.
A
I'm not
lot.
listening.
I hear you, bro. I hear you. Well. Needless to say, of course, we talk Tonys, we talk Emmys, we talk of course the Oscars, right?
Hmm.
But you know what? In terms of real performances, we have that stuff locally. Do you know that?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Uh,
Um,
Locally, but have an international impact.
hmm
Okay, so I'm thinking that we should bring them out. And just talk about the
Well,
important. Well, go
I'm
ahead.
excited about this show because everybody who's been on the show has been here before, but
Okay.
they have like lifetime pass. I mean, we should be giving them like special jackets and and things like that.
well. Have you talked to Angela about merch yet? Or no?
We'll have a side conversation about
Okay.
that.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I'm thinking that you know what? Well, why don't we bring the woman of the bunch out? Okay, that sure enough. I'll just say, Mama Foundation, baby, and of course the revival of Mama, I Want to Sing, Miss
It
Vi
must be.
Higginson. It
It can
must
only
be
be the legendary Vi
Vi.
Higginson.
And a very pleasant hello,
That's
everybody.
right.
How lovely to be with
That's
you today.
that's right.
Absolutely.
If Vi Higginson's not on your radio, it's not really on.
That's
I'll take it.
Somebody's got to keep the tradition going. So
exactly, and not a Harlem Repertory Theater. No. Don't say that. Say East Harlem Repertory Theater, and an incredible performance of a play that they put on called Mandela. It can only be the rapping fireman himself, Mr. John Miranda Ruiz. Bring him out. Come on.
all
Thank
right.
you so much for having me. I'll
Yeah.
take those jackets. I want the
Well,
you have offered it to me,
Yeah, that's right. Well, we'll trade you a jacket for some Mandela merch.
Swag. That's right.
Absolutely. You
Well,
got
hold
it.
it. Night Watchman, he got the hat. Look at the hat.
I know. I see it. I see
Okay.
it. I see it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And of course, now remember, Night Watchman, the show would not be complete unless we have one of the also legends there, and that is none other than, and I'll say, New Heritage Theater, the oldest in the country,
Mhm.
Mr. Voza Rivers. Bring him out.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Glad to be a part of our conversation today.
Absolutely. Beautiful. So, lady and gents, you know what? The importance of theater to a community, and more importantly, let's say internationally, it's often been said that it is the lifeblood and it's really what keeps us sane. So I need to know, Vi, tell me about the journey, the story of the Mama Foundation.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Curtis. The Mama Foundation is the home of Mama I Want to Sing. And
Hmm.
Mama I Want to Sing has become the longest running Black off Broadway theater musical in the history of American theater.
Mm.
And so at the Mama Foundation, we are presenting Mama I Want to Sing because of its 40th anniversary. And it just seems almost like a miracle. And then through Mama I Want to Sing, we realize the power of our music, of our theater, of our culture, and our need to see who we are and where we come from musically, and
Mm.
who we are and where we come from in our culture, in our values, in our integrity. That side of theater for Black audiences is so important. The
Hmm.
images.
Absolutely, and of course, like I said, what did I say earlier, John? Not the Harlem Repertory Theater. I'm talking East Harlem Repertory Theater. Of course, we know about the Rapping Firemen, but this particular, let's say, endeavor that you and Yolanda put together, Mandela. Tell us the genesis and why it's so important. Tell our
Well,
story.
so, at a time when our country, when our city needs a lot of healing, this is the perfect show to see. I mean, It's the untold story about Nelson and how the world was forever changed by apartheid, and the freedom of oppression. Mandela went in, the ANC, they fought against enormous odds, maintaining their dignity and compassion, and within its depth and creativity of Mandela, it just gives such a profounding, this is what, I've been told, unforgettable experience. With all its layers, Mandela manages to fluidly enact how the United States CIA played a mysterious role in the surveillance and ultimate capture of Nelson Mandela. And it also mirrors United States and South Africa each other, while how protesting Black Americans suffered similar social injustices, while fighting against oppression. We've done this show now for 7 years. We're at the American Theater of Actors. This is our last weekend there. But the organization, East Harlem Repertory Theater, we've been around since 1983. Started with the Rapid Firemen and Safety Friends. And we educate about 30,000 New York City public school children a year. So when you see the kids get on one of those cheese buses, those yellow buses, and they're going to Lehman College, York College, Wagner, Brooklyn College, Queens College, they're probably going to one of our events. And we do a lot of cultural shows. We do Pathways to Freedom, Freedom Fighters, Mandela, The Motown Story, Harriet Tubman, and the kids love it. And that's why out of 2,200 capacity in these theaters, we do 2 shows in the morning. We stack in 4,000 school children, eager, hungry, thirsty for cultural education. They want to get to know who they are. And that is important, that we don't forget in our communities who we are and where we come from.
Beautiful, beautiful. And certainly, Voza, you know that you're one of my mentors. And I often joke that you are certainly a Renaissance man, because we remember your career in the New York City Police Department, and then, of course, theater. So please tell me about the journey, and then, of course, New Heritage Theater. Yes.
Well, both John and I were public servants, and I did 30. I did my 20 years at New York Police Department as a detective. But also during that time, I met a young man named Roger Furman, and this was in 1964, and he was creating his own theater company. Little did I know, I volunteered to assist, and that years later, Roger would ask me to take over the business side of the theater so he could concentrate on the artistic. And through that relationship with Roger for 20 years, I learned so much because I knew nothing about theater before I met him. Roger Furman, he died during that 20-year period, and the board of directors asked me to take over the theater. I did not feel that I was capable of running a theater, but Ozzie Davis and Ruby Dee, 2 very close friends of Roger Furman, who were part of the American Negro Theater with Roger, said, Voza, we're there to help you. So with that kind of endorsement, I took over the reins of the theater. I did not take over the reins to change anything. I wanted to enhance what Roger had done. And locally, with African-American culture, Black culture, it was great, but it only focused on African-American culture within the United States. And what I had an opportunity to do is to look beyond the United States. And I looked, like John was talking, I looked to South Africa because it was during the height of apartheid. I was fortunate enough to see 2 performers from South Africa who were performing at the Lucille Hotel Theater. They were exquisite. They told the story of one of them, Nelson Mandela's partners in the ANC. Albert Lutuli was his name, and he also was a Peace Prize winner. For that show, downtown, got permission from the artist to bring it up to Harlem before the show closed downtown. When it was downtown, it won the Obie Award for
Mm-hmm.
off-Broadway musical, best directing, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
I brought it to Harlem, and the artist felt that they were in Soweto, South Africa, or Joburg.
Nice.
See downtown. And that led me to create a relationship and a partnership with the South African company called Committed Artists. Their relationship was so strong that they also asked me to head up the Committed Artists organization in the United States and around the world. And so through that process, not only did I become immersed in South African culture, but I was also a representative of their culture. The second show I did was called Asenamali, a Zulu word for we have no money. South African partners asked me to go to South Africa to see the show. I went to get a visa, and I was denied a visa because I was considered an undesirable to go to South Africa because I was part of the anti-apartheid movement by doing those plays.
Wow.
Had me endorsed. So a few years later, there was one more story to be told, and they asked me to be involved in that. That story was a musical called Sarafina. Sarafina came in 1987 to the United States. It played at Lincoln Center. I brought it uptown to City College for 3 special performances. And then a few months later, it was on Broadway. This is the 40th anniversary of Sarafina. I am now working with these committed artists to bring Sarafina to the United States in 2024. And on the 23rd of February, was the third production that I did. The second, Asenamali, the world premiere of the film Asenamali will be at the Apollo Theater on the 23rd of this month.
Oh, okay. All right. See? Oh, wow. Night Watchman.
Well, it's just interesting the parallels that you all are hitting these like 40-year anniversaries, and it's we're glad to have witnessed the arc. We were just kind of running around in the early 80s, but certainly clued into the culture, and to see the arc of where you guys started back then and where you are now is great. The other thing that comes to mind is that in 2023, when we have an attack on our history in the public schools, how the work that you all are doing is so important, because we have to preserve our history and legacy and culture everywhere we can. And I think that there's no better place to preserve it than in the theater. So,
absolutely. Yeah. And Night Watchman, do you remember when we had Vi, Pat Prescott, and G. Keith Alexander on the show?
Of course I remember.
and do recall that, Vi was quite clever, because she said that just about all of her radio personality friends had appeared at one time or another on Mama I Want to Sing. So Vi, tell us.
Yes, Mama I Want to Sing really is a radio broadcast, and the radio broadcast brings the music alive. So it's a live radio broadcast. So when Mama I Want to Sing was doing 4 shows on a Saturday, 11, 2, 5, and 8, I certainly couldn't do all of those. I called in my brothers and sisters and said, y'all got to get up there and help me do this show. We had 10 shows a week, and they were sold out for 3 and 4 months at a time. And they came in and they just did it. It's something special about radio personalities and those voices. And, radio has always told our story in music. I can go all the way back to WLIB AM and FM and Eddie OJ. You
Oh
got one foot
wow.
in the old
Yes.
and one foot in the new, and they always was the heartbeat of the community, giving us information, giving us music, and setting a mood in our house, in our car, or wherever we went.
Mm-hmm.
And so I needed to tell this Harlem story.
Mm-hmm.
I needed to tell this story of 126th Street between Lenox and 7th Avenue, a half a block from the Apollo Theater, around the corner from Sylvia's, in the
Mm-hmm.
childhood that I remember living here, that was safe, and people were homeowners,
Mm-hmm.
and a neighborhood where people looked at each other. And that all changed when the input of drugs came into the community that made it unsafe. And you can see all this in The Godfather and The Gangsters and all of that. But
Mm-hmm.
that turned our community around. But that didn't mean that that community wasn't full of hardworking people who came to Harlem to have a better life, that came from the South, that came in the 1920s and the 1930s, to make a way. And
Mm-hmm.
the side that I saw on this block, and
Mm-hmm.
I know that Voza will uh, know this as well. When the Apollo Theater had a place on Saturday for young kids to be dropped off so that they can see the music and hear James Brown and all
Wow.
Jackie Wilson and all the other, that's my musical sensibility. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where I say, I say so cool, old school, because now, because we can, but you can not only appreciate it, we need to celebrate it. And music appreciation is important of our musical ancestors. And
Mm-hmm.
so when we formed the Mama Foundation right here on the very same block that Mama I Want to Sing is about, we wanted to make sure that we don't forget this history,
Mm-hmm.
that we pay homage to the
Mm-hmm.
geniuses that came before us. And so that's why we created, the Mama Foundation, to make sure that each generation would pass this music on and remember it fondly, and the contribution it has made to the American musical landscape shall not and cannot be forgotten. And that's why we tell this story. So when I tell the story of my sister, Doris Troy, who yesterday was the day that she passed away, it's
Mm.
so meaningful to me to pay homage to her legacy, coming in, from a single parent household, the oldest of four kids, um, and having written 92 songs, and one of her songs became the pop soul classic. And me to turn on the TV
Mm-hmm.
last week on a Monday night and see that the top 10 football commercials was Doris Troy's song called Just One Look with Cindy
Ah.
Crawford
Wow.
playing the
Wow.
top to, and that just makes my heart beat. And I know that her legacy and her history, with Dionne Warwick, Cissy Houston, and all those early girls that
Mm-hmm.
came
Mm-hmm.
out with the R&B and B and the rock and roll, and Doris, who won amateur night at the Apollo. And
Wow.
so those are the things that I think that young people shouldn't forget. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, in the culture is trying to wipe out our history. They
Mm.
want to, you know what I think, guys? I really believe the fact that they're trying to wipe it out is now going to have people more activated than ever before to find out, why are they trying to erase history? Why are they
Yeah.
trying to erase us? Why are they trying to erase themselves? What's
Yes.
up with
Yes.
that?
That's
So
right.
come on, let's pay attention to what's going on, and let's especially honor and respect and appreciate and celebrate.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Night Watchman, certainly we can say or whatnot that there should not be any Black history. Why? Because it's all American history.
Done.
Hmm.
Done.
Hmm.
Okay, I
It's
mean,
amazing.
please, it is. Bottom line. And John, I have to also ask you. Now, if I'm not mistaken, you and Yolanda have been together at least, let me 7 years, married 7 years or so.
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay. So having said that, I do notice in terms of your arc, it seems that your stuff is really kind of like taken off and flown. So tell me about that partnership and how that unfolded.
Well, first of all, I want to say, Voza, thank you for your service. You and I are joined at the hip as first responders.
Nice, nice.
I met Yolanda in 1994 at a school presentation. I was a rapping fireman, and she was working for the city at the time as an environmental inspector.
Nice.
And we went on a date, and it didn't work out. And I got the free meal. I went about my business. And then back in 2004, I owned the circus called the Firehouse Circus. We had elephants, we had tigers, we had Rocky the boxing kangaroo, we had the Wheels of Death, and we had a lot of stuff. And then out of nowhere, she calls me, and then we just started talking. Invited her to some shows. You know, circus was great too, by the way. It's a big top. You know, I started to see that she was an excellent writer, and the way that she can tell a story. So I say, you know, I'm the music to her words. So, you know, together, I mean, it's hard for me to do anything without her. And the same, because I mean, we complement each other so much. And, you know, nowadays you have to tell a story cleverly.
Yes.
It just can't be something that people figure out, this is what's going to happen next, you know? And that's when people come to see Mandela, they're like, wow, I never expected this. I never expected that. That's one thing, you know, to our grace is that we're able to tell the story cleverly. We were also excited when Mayor David Dinkins became part of our cast for 2 years.
Wow.
That was great because, you know, he brought Mandela to New York City in 1990.
That's right.
Months after he came out of prison, a South African jail that he was in for 27 years. So that meant a lot to us, you know, extremely. And every opportunity that I got to sit down with him and write and just take his videos. So I have a ton of videos and pictures with him. I mean, I was just in awe, you know, of this man and what he did for our city, and yet not really recognized for the work that he did, for the legacy he left behind, for the projects that he began and someone else later on took the credit for.
Yes.
That's the part of what we as people of color go through. Yes. How the system sanitizes our importance, you know, our history, and immediately tries to erase it. And this is where myself, Voza, and Vi Higgenson, and Jamal Joseph, and Ty Jones, and some of the storytellers of the village, you know, we have to be the ones that come in and gather the children and the villagers and tell the story of theater.
Yes.
Tell the story of the emotional athlete.
Yes.
And it's important, what the work that we all do, extremely important.
Absolutely. And go ahead, Night Watchman.
Well, we all recognize you all as curators and caretakers of our culture, but a lot of us don't also recognize that you guys are master problem solvers, because on the business side, to be able to run these theater companies, you know, in an era where funding goes up, down, and sideways for culture, particularly our culture. So I want you guys to just speak about the ups and downs, the trials and triumphs of solving the problems on a day-to-day basis that you need to do in order to make these productions happen.
Someone. Voza, you want to take that?
Voza, you solved a few problems. One or two, maybe. Over.
Well, when I was being introduced today, I said that I started as a volunteer. You only start as a volunteer to be a part of the New Heritage Repertory Theater, which was founded by Roger, because I had other outside activity. And I saw the meaningful message that he wanted to convey with the work that he was doing creatively. And for me, I wanted to support it. So I came in with another kind of, and but little did I know that I would be here as long as I have been, which is now 59 years. Next
Wow. Wow. Beautiful.
60 years. And what has happened is that all during that period, a lot of creative people came on board, but they couldn't volunteer. They had to be paid.
Mm-hmm.
So what Roger taught me and what he did with the American Negro Theater is he had all of the actors buy into, you have to go out and sell tickets. You have to go out and reach the audience. You got to invite your family and friends because we're going to share in the box office receipts.
Yes.
So if you don't do your job, and when we look and say, oh, John Smith, you only invited 5 people to a show that ran for 2 weeks, and Roy Jones, you had 30 individuals that came in. The person with the 30 will share proportionately with what those the gross ticket sales were. It was a nice kind of concept that they did back in the 1940s, and he just shared it with us. So
Wow.
when I finally got an opportunity to be in the leadership position, I just used a variation of that concept. However, having relationships and having friends become very important. I am also the first vice president of the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce.
Mm-hmm.
Grew
Mm-hmm.
up as a kid with Lloyd Williams. Lloyd Williams understood when we created Harlem Day, which is now 59 years later, 49 years later, called Harlem Week, that we created something with no dollars.
Mm-hmm.
There
Mm-hmm.
were there were our supporters. Percy Sutton understood.
Mm-hmm.
My journey in arts and culture is a combination of working with others and not trying to carry all the load by myself. Percy Sutton invited me into the Apollo Theater family. I ran the record label for Apollo Theater Records. I opened up the Apollo Theater in Japan, and I was the executive producer in Japan for 6.
Mm-hmm.
It became local, global.
Mm-hmm.
And when I decided to go with the international direction, and the local funders said, Voza, you are crazy. Why would we, in your position who just took over the theater, even think about bringing actors 10,000 miles away to the Harlem community when you have all these African American artists who need work? And I said, for 20 years, that's exactly what we did. But the world is larger than Harlem. Harlem is a major uh, picture, but it's global, and our culture is being absorbed globally. And I want to make sure that we connect with others in other countries that are doing the same thing. So for our footprint, we're in South Africa, we're
Mm-hmm.
in Cuba, we're in Japan. I leave now in 2 weeks to go to Zimbabwe. Why?
Wow.
Of the young people in Zimbabwe, orphan kids, I found a way during the pandemic to incorporate them with the kids from Harlem, with the kids in Cuba, and with the kids in Japan. And because of that relationship, I am leaving for Zimbabwe to open up homes for the orphan kids, and the first home is going to be named in my honor. In
Oh,
Ah,
congratulations.
congrats.
That's
Congrats.
wonderful.
So that's where I land, making sure that there is a connection, and I don't have to rely on funders to keep me going. And Vi and I, we have this conversation all the time. We do what we do because it's in our DNA.
Mm.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And that's
Absolutely.
how we survive. And we do it for the love of this community that we grew up in.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And Vi, Certainly, you just heard Voza's remarks, and I know you. You are constantly on, as they say, the grind. So you got to tell me about some of those challenges that you faced and how you've overcome.
Oh, yes. There, when I hear Voza speak and I realize the importance of the conversation we're having with the three of us now,
Mm-hmm.
it it is clear that we are arts activists.
Yes.
We are arts revolutionaries. We are arts incorporated early on with the passion to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that we continue, that we are not ignored, that we are not shoved. And in the early, when I hear these dates, I mean, 40 years, 59 years, I mean, of the battle, of the struggle. And I have to tell you, that it was a struggle. And the attempt was for us at Mama I Want to Sing to stay in the community, to give good theater at good prices at a size of a theater, 500 or 600 seats at least, so
Mm-hmm.
that there would be, you cannot turn a profit on a smaller space. So I
Right.
needed a bigger space in theater for the masses. I needed
Yes.
young and old people to come. But I'll tell you, the funds was not available. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and you couldn't get. I remember I tried to get people to invest in Mama I Want to Sing, and the only person that came through was my sister with $2,000. I mean, and now people that I approached said, "Oh, I wish I had done it," but most people didn't think it would even work or survive all these years. And so, even today, when we talk about the disparity in the arts,
Mm-hmm.
and where do the arts dollars go? Who does it go to? And are we getting our fair share after all of these years of delivering products of quality and products that were able to move globally? Like Mama, I Want to Sing, that was always a surprise to me. Whether
Mm-hmm.
we went to Germany and Switzerland and Sweden or Istanbul, Turkey, or Greece or southern Italy, that people laughed in the same place, they cried in the same place, and the power of the music to heal and touch people became really you know,
Mm-hmm.
obvious. And when we went to Japan, we're credited with introducing gospel to the Japanese audiences. And
Wow.
I say now they have schools of 750 people, nurses and office workers learning gospel music in a Buddhist
Mm-hmm.
nation. And we've been going there since 1988. So I'm
Right.
just saying, it after George Floyd, I have to admit
Yep.
people began to pay more attention. And
Mm.
and that's important. But the
Yes.
groundwork had to be laid by people who are on this broadcast. It
Mm-hmm.
had to be set up for black excellence in
Mm-hmm.
order to survive.
Absolutely, and certainly, John, having of course attended the performance of Mandela. And now I'm just thinking that okay, I know him as rapping fireman. I know him, pushing this particular thing. But I saw you in the theater. You were doing everything, including keeping the actors on their mark. So, John, you have to tell me about the challenges, man.
Yeah, well, first of all, when I hear Boza speaks, I have to speak. I have to say I'm not worthy. And Boza, please speak a little slower because I'm taking notes and I write very slow.
Gotcha.
You got to do everything. I mean, you saw what you saw during the performance, but
Mhm.
before the performance, I'm helping my wife with cleaning up the aisles and the seats. Because it's got to be spectacular for the
Yes.
attendees.
Yes.
It's not easy. And you talk about funding. We just recently started getting some funding, and the language. When you have to do your reports, you need an attorney to figure it out. They don't make it easy. And I can see how some of these mom and pop, as I call them, theater companies just fall to the side because they
Yes.
can't figure it out. There's no help, real help for them to, to do the paperwork. I'm kind of lucky. My wife's a lot smarter than I am. So, like as most women are.
Yes, they are.
Yes, they are. You know, and she'll look at this Monday. She'll say, "Good."
Yes, you will get some brownie points for sure.
Yes, yes, yes. So even when I started the Rapping Farm in 1983, because my daughter set fire to the house by playing with matches, and at that time, most of the children that were dying because of playing with matches and at fires were children of color. I started this program, and immediately it kind of took off. Every school wanted me there because what I did was edutain children.
Yes.
And in order to catch, their level of attendance, you have to come with something a little different.
Yes.
And that's what I did at the beginning. And of course, I don't have to tell you, I went through hell for 20 years because the job felt that I was taking work from them. Because their importance is judged by how many lives are lost, how much work is out there. The jobs, what they call the jobs, the fires. And if children aren't creating fires, if people aren't passing away in fires, what is this man doing? I did over 10,000 shows. I was doing 7 shows a week. I wasn't funded. I took out a pension loan to get a robot in a little van. And I went bankrupt after 7 years.
Wow.
And if it wasn't for Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, who recognized me, gave me the presidential award, then the Yankees had a day for me, Yankee Stadium. Voza and the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce, they hired me every time they could. The Black Expo with Jerry Roebuck, the Hispanic Expo, a bunch of different expos had recognized that my education was needed. And eventually I did a video, I did something for Disney, and then eventually I was able to, through Scholastic, they started publishing my books. I sold about 1 million books, man. I was like, woo.
Nice.
I could put that money back into my pension for my kids, and then, the better things started coming in life. We're lucky with Mandela that it speaks for itself. I want to get more of our brothers and sisters into the audience. Right now, we get a lot of white audience members. And what I find out constantly, they come up to me and my wife and say, so you guys wrote this? Yes. So you guys developed it? Yes. You guys the second producer? Yes. But where's Chuck and Sue? Chuck and Sue ain't got nothing to do here. We created this. We put this together. We wrote this wonderful story. And,
yes.
But getting support from the city is something that we should get, but it's very difficult. And when they do give it to you, little bits.
So John, it's almost like in terms of is it worth it in terms of that report? It might be a little complicated for the amount of money you actually get.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, you have to see some of this stuff. I mean, it's just like it's legal jargon. And my wife says, why don't they make it easier? We speak to our program manager. We say, why don't they just say they need this? But they don't do that. They purposely make it more difficult for our people, our small mom and pop theater companies, to fall apart, to fall.
Yes.
And I know one time we got funding because another company couldn't figure out the paperwork.
Oh, man.
So we got somebody else's money because the system killed them. And without support, you can't exist.
Yes.
It's very difficult. Very difficult because it costs a lot of money to put on these productions.
For sure.
I'm still eating sardines and crackers.
See, so Voza, I certainly know the challenges, but one of the things that's also coming to my mind is this important collaboration that you have with an important former member of the Black Panther Party, Jamal Joseph. So please tell me about the genesis of that and why that impact that you guys have with young people is there and it's real?
Well, shortly after I got involved with Japan, I'm sorry, I said Japan, with South Africa, I met Jamal. And
Mm.
because I was working with kids in South Africa, preparing them for their debut in America, along comes Jamal right out of prison, and
Mm.
I'm being introduced to Jamal by an actor, Charles Dutton.
Oh yes, yes,
Charles
yes. Mm.
Dutton and Jamal, when he was in prison, had made a decision that when he got out of prison, he wanted to have a career like Charles Dutton. Charles Dutton was arrested for manslaughter, did his
Wow.
time in prison, came out and went to Yale University and
Mm.
became one of August Wilson's major feature actors.
Wow.
Jamal saw that and said when he came out of prison, uh, uh, he would get all of his degrees, which he did through his master's degree,
Mm-hmm.
and he was armed with scripts. And he was
Mm.
armed with scripts coming out of prison because that was the safety net for him because he was such a young person in prison. And he
Mm-hmm.
created a theater company while he was in prison for the prisoners. And
Incredible.
became a magnet for skinheads,
Mm-hmm.
right wingers. All of these guys came together around arts and culture that Jamal thought was a safety net for him. He comes
Wow.
out with Charles Dutton and he says, I live in Harlem. I'm armed with all of these scripts that I wrote while I was in prison, and nobody wants to work with me.
Mm.
Charles Dutton says, Jamal, I just saw a play with 35 kids at least. And there's this brother who lives in Harlem who's one of the producers. You live in Harlem. Maybe you should meet him. And that under that recommendation, I got a call from Charles Dutton. I met Jamal. And from the moment that I saw Jamal and heard his story,
Mm-hmm.
that I needed to support him. And I wrote him a check for $500 to to encourage him to do what he was doing. And that became the basis. And because Jamal was such a young person when he was a member of the Black Panther Party,
Mm-hmm.
connected with the work that I was doing with the young people in South Africa
Wow.
against apartheid. And we molded that into Impact Repertory Theater. Inspiration, motivation, preparation, activism, commitment, and teamwork. And those young people are founded on the foundation of what I inherited from South Africa, working with the kids in South Africa.
Incredible. Incredible. And Night Watchman, I know you didn't know what that impact meant that because I didn't know it.
I had heard it before, but I didn't remember it. But I have a few gray hairs, so I always use the gray hair exception. I'm not entitled to have to remember everything. But what I want to talk about also about the three of you, and also by extension Jamal, Joseph, and some of your other peers, is how you've always focused on intergenerationality, especially by, you've always been working with the kids, but then somewhere along the way you said, well, let me work for some of these older folks too. We still got people with talent who have something to show. And Voza telling us what you're doing with not just kids in our own neighborhood, but kids globally, and of course our rapping firemen who started this thing out working with kids. So I just want to hear you guys talk about connecting the dots, across all age levels in our community and across the world.
Oh, we.
Hold on.
Uh-huh.
Joe, I just mentioned Jamal, so who comes in and he just wants you to just say hi to Vi.
Ah, yes.
Oh yes.
Jamal Joseph, my brother.
Oh yes, yes, yes.
How are you?
Now it's a
Good.
party.
Yes. Love it, brother. Keep doing what you're doing. You know that. We love you, man.
Thank you. Love you, brother. Love you, family.
Oh,
Yeah.
excellent, excellent. So, this is great. So, Vi, go ahead, continue.
So um, Yeah, this is all good. The arts warriors.
That's
That's
it.
right.
That's it.
The
The
warriors.
Avengers.
So yeah, so here we go. Now we go back again, because we do musicals.
Hmm.
That's what we do. And so it occurred to me to write a story called Alive 55 Plus and Kicking,
Yes.
because I wanted to make sure that the young people didn't forget the voices. Like,
Yes.
we don't sing the way we used to. I mean, the music that you hear now on the radio is totally different than the
Mm.
music that we played on WBLS. So
Yes.
I wanted to preserve, and promote the
Hmm.
sound of the human voice, using it to pass it on from generation to generation. And
Hmm.
so we took these people that sounded like Gladys Knight, or Ray Charles, or and we
Hmm.
put them all together because those sounds may not be forgotten. And it ran for 4 years here in New York City, and it was a thrill. I would love to do that again. Our challenge for us is space. And
Mm.
somehow, every time we get into space, somebody wants to use it for something else. I don't understand it. But our drive is to find space to have continuous
Hmm.
entertainment, continuous stories, good theater at good prices.
Yes.
Black history, black music, black culture, black voices. And that's
Hmm.
what we're committed to.
Nice. Nice. Okay. And you know what? Having heard that, in terms of music and the voices. Now, John, I happen to know a little birdie told me and whatnot that you're going to be actually looking at, while you haven't necessarily done musicals per se, you're going to be actually doing a play regarding probably one of the most greatest and influential music companies on the planet. And please do tell me about Motown.
Yes. But first, I want to talk about the
Okay.
East Harlem Youth Repertory Theater,
Ah,
where
yes.
we work with 250 children from the East Harlem area, which scan, and over at the observatory on 104th Street and Fifth Avenue.
Hmm.
And for the last 7 years, we've done a musical called Scrooge with kids. Kids are in the play, and they
Wow.
sing and they dance. So we've been doing that.
Nice.
But this August, and we've been doing this play now for about 5 years. And what we've done is we put together the world's greatest impersonators. These are
Hmm.
guys that look like the artists and sound like the artists. So the Stevie Wonder looks like Stevie and sounds like him. Our Michael Jackson is incredible.
We say
Incredible.
moonwalking, huh?
Oh man, he is incredible. We have our Supremes, our Marvelettes, um, and we always try to do affordable theater. When we do the shows at the schools, we're actually bringing Mandela to Brooklyn College, and we do a tour of all the colleges, and we bus children in, and we try to make it affordable, $10. The schools have some funding, so that's you have to wait 3-4 months to get paid, but we understand that, and this is how we continue to do God's work, and the work that we should do as storytellers is to make it affordable at the same time to be able to sustain ourselves.
Hmm.
Right now, we're at the American Theater of Actors, which is on 54th Street, and it's a small audience. You've been there.
Hmm.
It only fits 125 people.
Right.
But we thank God that white audiences are not afraid to pay $150 for a ticket to sit in the first, second, or third row.
Hmm.
And but then again, we do offer 2-for-1 tickets for our people in the community, whoever has a ticket code. But Motown is going to be excellent. It's going to be in August. It's going to be at the American Theater of Actors. I'm going to invite you to and Night Watchman to come down and groove with us, and do a little dancing and stuff like that. We got the Ed Sullivan impersonator. Motown. What could it be without Ed Sullivan and Johnny Carson and Dick Clark? We have all those impersonators. We tell that story. We give you a vibe of the 50s and the 60s, because in between every act, there's those commercials, those Alka-Seltzer commercials and Tide commercials and stuff. So we want you to get that flavor of the 60s at the same time while you're hearing the music, you know, of the 60s. We have that. It's all in the air, man. It's the air of love.
Nice. And actually, you saw that, Night Watchman. John actually had your move. I saw that. I love it. I love it. So, Voza, it was definitely fortuitous to see Jamal, man. It's like, yeah, yes, we conjured him up, and thus he appears. So beautiful. So, do tell me, what are some of the things that you guys have in mind for Impact this season?
Well, Impact just finished a new song, not a new song, but a song out of their catalog that we're doing called Harlem Is. It'll be as a soundtrack for a documentary that we're working on. The young people are still doing virtual programming with our young people in Japan. And in fact, that has been so successful that the Japanese government had decided to create Impact Japan with the Japanese groups that we've been performing with,
Wow.
using our philosophy.
Oh, wow. Wow. And I do notice that, Voza, absolutely, as time goes on, we sometimes lose a number of those impactful folks that have surrounded us. So I'm thinking about, of course, Elaney Cook, of course.
Yes.
And I'm also thinking about Atanabe. Exactly. So tell me about the relationship and impact that they had with you.
Mr. Abe and I from Japan. I met him at the Apollo Theater. He was my partner for 35 years and
Wow.
introduced me to Japan. That's how come we were able to open up an Apollo Theater in Japan.
Mm.
And he just opened up the doors for me. I mean, from the highest levels of Japan's community to the local people. Laney Cook
Yep.
worked with a man by the name of Clarence Jones. Clarence Jones was Percy Sutton's partner. Clarence Jones was an attorney, and Clarence Jones was Martin Luther King's speechwriter and attorney.
Wow.
And through that relationship, we formed a film company, and that was 40 years ago, called Greenlight Pictures. And it was headed by Clarence as chairman, and I was the president of the company. And I brought Jamal in, and Laney was a producer. And
Nice. Nice.
she was my left and my right hand. And it's a great loss for me, both of them. And I'm understanding that may have lost another partner in Chuck Jackson as
Oh, wow. Really?
the official wording. His family has not made it public, so
Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha.
that would be another partner that I had for a number of years, Chuck Jackson.
Wow, incredible. Oh boy. And you know what? Well, oof. I guess Vi, I do notice that of course the apple not falling far from the tree in terms of Noel, and certainly going national and global with America's Got Talent. So you got to tell me about that and that happening.
Oh wow, that was so fun. I can't, believe it. And so we took about 25 of our young people,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody flew to California. Some of our young people never even have been on an airplane before. And it was such a joy watching them, be excited and
Nice.
passionate. And and it was really watching the judges say yes,
Yes, yes, yeah.
yes to these young. I mean, it's like, yeah. But more importantly, it was important for us to say we are from Harlem,
Harlem, baby.
USA.
Yes.
Harlem, baby. We're representing, and that's it. So they've asked us to come back, and we're examining that, but we'll see. because I like landing on that yes part. You know what I mean? I don't want to hear no no's from nobody. But anyway, so yeah, that's what we've been doing. And I just want to mention this. There is a Black women in radio. And Black women in radio, there's a couple of hundred now, and they're being honored in the month of April, or we are being in the Library of Congress.
Oh,
They've
congratulations.
gathered.
Yes.
Thank you so
Yes.
much. I'm really excited. So you can, it's on Facebook, and then Black Women in Radio. The person who's organizing it is saying, never before has it happened that women were really recognized. And I guess, as Watchmen would say, the first woman in New York primetime radio, and my love of radio still exists, as you know. But the excitement really is around, Mama, I Want to Sing, and what we're doing. And these young people, our classes begin in March. All of our classes are offered for free at no charge. And so we welcome that musical child to come in, and we'll teach him breathing, harmony, pitch, and control, a repertoire of music. And twice a year we give, concerts. And so Noelle, of course, is the artistic director. And I don't really know how all of this happened, but I'm thrilled. And this is her directing debut.
Oh,
She is directing Mama, I Want to Sing. So we're passing the torch, Ken and I, and saying, go. She knows, who knows it better than she.
Yes.
And she played the role of Doris Winter with that 5-octave range.
Wow.
For many years, and now she's going on the other side to do directing the show, and it's a joy to watch her grow in leadership and creatively. Also, I must want to say that our curriculum now has been picked up not only in the local schools here in Harlem, but in Purchase College. So Noelle is teaching in Purchase College.
Oh, excellent.
And our curriculum is also now at Dartmouth College.
All right.
So Noelle teaches in all of these places, and it's amazing how she's able to maneuver.
Well, Night Watchman, you didn't have anything to do with the Dartmouth College, or did you? Just checking.
Of course not. They don't need me.
So how we doing, Night Watchman? Tell us.
We are in the wrap-up phase, unfortunately. Time goes by so quickly with these folks, and they have stories that we could tell. We could probably be here another 2 or 3 hours, but we won't.
Absolutely. So you know what, John?
Yes, sir.
Tell us how one can get in touch with you, and tell us about, let's say, there you go. I love this. Okay, very nice. And tell us that this particular weekend, as you told Voza, this will be the closing of Mandela, or what?
Yes, this weekend. We're only there for 3 weeks. I just want to say, Voza, you got an incredible memory, my brother. Incredible memory. Because I got CRS. I can't remember shit. But I want to say that we've been lucky. We were nominated for 3 Adelco Awards. We won 1 for Best Performance.
Congrats.
2 weeks ago, thank you. The Broadway World Awards came out. We were nominated for 10. We won 9.
Nice,
we got the Best New Play, Best Production, Best Direction, Best Performance, Best Original Choreography, Best Scenic Design, Best Sound Design, Best Costume Design, Best Lighting Design. I don't know what was left.
Excellent. Well, congratulations. And Voza, hey, tell us about what we're expecting. There you go. New Heritage Theater.org. Yes. Beautiful. So if, let's say, young people may want to get involved with Impact, how do they do that?
Just go to newheritagetheater.org.
Okay, and we'll see it right there. Okay. Well, Night Watchman, what else you got for me, huh?
Well, you've been listening to us on WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem, and we had some voices from Harlem on the voice of Harlem. We're also live streaming on YouTube and Facebook and on all your favorite podcast platforms. We thank our guests for joining us. You guys have an open door to come
anytime.
And Noelle as well. Tell her as well. She's she's a returning guest, and we want her to know it's not just mama, but it's daughter too.
That's right. Pass it on.
That's right.
Absolutely. Well,
Okay.
this has been an incredible show, guys. Thank you so much. Sure.
Thank
Keep
you.
on doing what you're doing, and Voza, Godspeed on your trip to Zimbabwe,
Yes.
and we're just glad to have our global citizens here, and know that they're locally, that we can still like have coffee with you.
Hey,
Ha! I love it.
and I love the fact also that Vi, in terms of Black women in radio, getting her flowers now.
That's
Congratulations.
Oh.
right. That's
Yes,
right.
congrats. All
And go
right.
Thank
buy
you.
her hot sauce at Whole Foods.
All
Oh
right.
yeah, y'all gotta have some of that
That's
Mama's
right.
One Sauce for all foods at Whole Foods.
You
That's
got it.
right.
Yeah.
All
All
right.
right, y'all. Have a
Okay.
good one now.
Okay.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.